First segment. So we got a medical topic today because I do like to do some medical topics. And this is coming from a article that I read this past week, and it involves sleep medications, okay? And so it's an article that basically asks, are sleep medications increasing the risk of dementia in people that are older? And the reason this study kind of even came up is that benzodiazepines, which would include things like Valium, Ativan, there's a couple others that are in that class that are very commonly taken for anxiety and also as sleep aids, have been found to have a link to people getting dementia as they get older.
Okay.
And so this study actually is a really powerful study. It came out of University of California, San Francisco, so UCSF, which is a very well-respected institution. And it had a lot of patients. It actually looked at 3,000 patients over a course of 10 years, which, that's a pretty powerful study. And it did a couple of odd things. It did one really good thing, which it broke these people down into groups based on, did they take sleep medications every once in a while? Did they take them, more commonly, or did they take them like frequently or daily?
Right.
And it also broke them down into two ethnic groups, white and black, which I thought was a little unusual that they didn't break it down into more, but I think there's a specific reason for that, which I'll get to towards the end. And so they looked at these patients over 10 years, and they want to see, okay, how many of these patients got dementia, and of those patients that got dementia, were they more likely to be in either one group or the other, meaning did they take lots of sleep meds or not, and were they more in the white or African American? And so there was a couple things just right off the bat that was interesting. White patients were 3 times more likely to use sleep meds on a daily basis, which kind of makes sense. Not to categorize white folk, but they do take a lot of medications for sleep. I've noticed that just when I see patients come in and I look at their medications, you see a lot of people that take things for sleep, whether it be like Ambien or Valium or like OTC stuff. And the other thing is that they were much, much more likely to use prescription medications like benzodiazepines versus the African American group. So that was one interesting thing, and we'll kind of circle back around to what that means. But so of these patients, 20% of them over the course of 10 years developed dementia, because they were 70 and older.
Okay.
I don't think I mentioned that. So this is an older population, okay? We're not talking about 20-year-olds. And so when they broke down the data, the white patients who were in the group that took sleep aids on a daily basis had a much, much higher risk of developing dementia.
Okay.
So there definitely was a link there. Now what's interesting is in the African American group, that did not hold true.
Yeah. I'm interested to see or if you know this,
Yeah.
you can probably look it up, but the percentage of white people in their 70s that do have a risk of getting dementia, and then what's the percentage of that that take the
sleep meds.
I want to see. That would be interesting to see the percentages. Like if it's only 20% of white people in their 70s get dementia versus if you're a white person and you take
right. So that's what this
medicine,
did, and so it gives you a number
50%.
called it gives you a number called a relative risk. So I didn't write down the exact number. It was 1.8. So 1 would be neutral.
Okay.
Right. So this one was 1.8. So that's actually quite significant. And as I said, what's interesting is in the African American group that didn't hold true, and I think that the reason for that is, as I said, white people versus African Americans are much more likely to take benzodiazepines, and I think that that's where the link is, because African Americans do take some sleep aids. They don't take them as frequently as white people do, but they're less likely to take the really kind of hard, sedatives like benzodiazepines, like Valium. And I think that that's why there was such a discrepancy in those two groups. And it was pretty interesting. I would say that this study is not like a smoking gun, right? This isn't a study that says, oh, absolutely, sleep medications increase your risk of dementia, and you should just absolutely not take them for any reason. Because the one thing that this study didn't do is it didn't break down what sleep medications the people were taking. I think that you can kind of infer that based on the historical what people take based on race. But it didn't specifically do that, so it does, leave that up for debate, right?
Yeah.
I wish that they had, done that, but of course the study was started probably 12 years ago because it was a 10-year study, and then there was 2 years of crunching the data, writing the paper, and getting it published and whatnot. Right. But that would have been one thing that would have been nice, was to actually break down, what medications are these people taking. Yeah. But I would say that, if there was something you could take home from this, I would say that, this data does seem to indicate that benzodiazepines, so things like Valium, Ativan, Klonopin is the other one that's really popular, probably do increase your risk of dementia as you age, which has been kind of linked in other studies. So if you're a person that's a little bit older, say, 60 or above, and you take these medications, if you take them frequently, it might be worth talking to your doctor about, is there something else I could take,
like
or
melatonin and stuff.
Something, something OTC. Like there's a lot of drugs that people can take, to help them sleep. So it might be worth looking into, because it seems like there's definitely a link there. Like I said, not a smoking gun here. This isn't like a groundbreaking study. There's a little bit too much question in it. Yeah. But it does show that there's potentially a link. And so, I would talk to your doctor about it. And then lastly, just to be complete, I did want to kind of go over some of the tips that the CDC recommends for getting better sleep. Okay. Because as we age, fortunately, this hasn't happened to me yet. I'm not quite in that, in that age group where,
You're not 70 and getting dementia yet?
Not quite yet. Maybe a little bit, but not quite.
Sworn.
Did you think I was? Maybe.
Yeah.
But no, as we age, it's really common to have issues with sleeping. Issues like, having less overall sleep. Like you're waking up frequently. You're waking up earlier in the morning and can't go back to sleep. You get less quality sleep. So REM, or rapid eye movement sleep, is your really good quality sleep. And as we age, you get less of that. And so you might need naps, or you need more time falling asleep. And so these are common things that happen as we age. And there's certain things that you can do outside of medications which can kind of make it easier for you to maintain a normal sleep pattern. So according to CDC, you want to be consistent. So a good thing to do is pick a time that's okay, I'm going to bed at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And stick to that, and then also stick to a time that you wake up, because your body gets into a rhythm of doing that, and it's easier for you to fall asleep and stay asleep when you're on kind of a cycle.
That makes sense, because when you get older, your schedule kind of doesn't exist. With my mom, for a while, she was just I'd call her because she's retired and stuff. I'd be like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I've just been sitting on the couch doing nothing all day." And then she would complain about being
That's so sad.
Yeah. And then she
you need to visit your mom more.
For real. And then she would complain about not being able to sleep at night. And I was like, it's because you didn't do anything productive the whole day. But I feel like that's what happens to a lot of older
Yeah, you definitely got to keep, this wasn't on there, but I think keeping yourself busy is helpful. It did mention exercise. It says that, exercise is during the day will help you sleep.
So my mom is in a dance class now.
Oh, nice. How fun.
So,
that's awesome.
I think she's doing a yoga class too.
Wow, good. So she's getting out there doing stuff.
Yeah,
awesome.
I kind of...
You pushed her into doing that?
I was like, you need to...
Good daughter.
Do things, mother.
So also they said that you want to make sure your bedroom is quiet, comfortable, no distractions. It said remove electronics. I don't think that they're worried about electromagnetic waves or anything, but I think more alerting, things beeping and going off at night. And then it said avoid large meals, caffeine, and alcohol close to bedtime. Yeah. So obviously I've been doing things wrong, because I think a little shot of bourbon is probably the best sleep aid possible. So don't do that.
It's just some whiskey.
Yeah. So the CDC says no to that. But no, in all seriousness, those are good tips for kind of maintaining a good sleep schedule. And yeah. I've always had problems sleeping myself. I'm kind of an insomniac,
I have trouble falling asleep.
I kind of do too. I just feel like I'm wired for 18 hours out of the day.
Yeah.
And for maybe 4 hours I can wind down. Also too, I think residency messed me up a little bit, because I was used to being up all night and going without sleep, and it's my body's oh, well, you don't really need 8 hours of sleep. I tend to stay up pretty late.
Yeah, your body's figured it out, the lies.
Just
kidding.
Right.